Hi, it's Ben. In this video I'm going to talk about what causes eczema and also a little bit about what can trigger eczema and things like inflammation and how they relate to eczema. This is all bearing in mind that I'm not a medical professional and it's all based on my own research. When I first started to have eczema, I assumed that it was a problem with the skin. Now, eczema can be a problem with the skin, but I've since found out that a lot of eczema is to do with other factors. Just going on to the WebMD website here, it says that doctors don't know exactly what causes eczema, but the common type of eczema resembles an allergy. And that seems accurate to me, because most eczema sufferers know that, or gradually come to realise that they seem to be allergic to certain things. It could be dust or certain types of food. Those are common ones. And the causation of the allergy can be to do with genetics. So eczema sufferers often have other members of the family who have similar sort of immune problems, allergies. Abnormal function of the immune system, environment, activities that cause the skin to become more sensitive, defects in the skin barrier that allow moisture out and germs in. So I think that's a good summary, and it might help eczema sufferers to go into a little bit more detail so that they know how to manage the problem and reduce the symptoms. I'm not going to go into environmental factors because I'm going to do that in another video, but on this video I'm more, going to look more at the root causes, triggers, inflammation, and then also a couple of theories which have some scientific evidence but not much, and are used more by naturopaths rather than medical doctors. Now, I don't say whether or not anything that I've learned is necessarily true, but I try to base it on research or opinions of professionals, and correct me if I'm wrong, or correct me if you think I've missed anything out. Okay, so firstly, allergies. An allergy is basically where your immune system tries to protect your body from protein fragments that resist digestion, or get into the body through other means, for example in particles of dust born in the air. And those particles or fragments are seen as being potentially damaging by the body, so the body tries to develops antibodies against them, and that causes an immune reaction. And symptoms of an immune reaction include hives, itching and inflammation, sometimes in the skin. And the development of allergies has been linked through research to the relationship between the gut flora and the immune system, and when they're first being established in childhood. So children with an unhealthy gut flora appear to be more likely to develop skin diseases and allergies, which can affect us for the rest of our lives. And so just to explain what the gut flora is, human beings are what's known as symbiotic organisms, which means that our bodies are not only made up of human cells, but trillions of bacteria cells. In fact, I've heard it said that there are more bacteria cells in our bodies than human cells, and most of the bacteria are beneficial or not harmful. And the gut contains about 100 trillion of those microorganisms, together known as the flora. And the bacteria in the gut have a number of roles, including synthesizing vitamins, developing amino acids, and they're also required for digestion and a strong immune system, and they're linked to the development of the immune system in children. Now, the fact that the gut flora and depletion or an imbalance in the gut flora in early life has been linked to childhood eczema suggests that children who are born who suffer from eczema may have not inherited a healthy gut flora, or have got a damaged gut flora somehow. And it's been shown that the gut flora can be damaged by things like antibiotics, inadequate levels of nutrients received from the mother, drugs, diet can have an impact, and birth by caesarean section seems to have an impact. And when a child is not breastfed, it seems to affect the gut flora and can therefore have an impact on the development of the immune system and allergies. And basically what happens is a child develops an abnormal immune system whereby it becomes allergic to substances which it shouldn't be allergic to, which are actually not harmful, and in some cases foods which can be very nutritious for us. So as well as that, there are some factors which seem to be linked to eczema, which aren't necessarily the cause, but if you sort of identify them and try to work to remedy them, then they can reduce inflammation in the body and reduce your exposure to toxins, which can stop eczema being triggered. So stop allergic reactions from taking place. Firstly, unwanted microorganisms. So I mentioned the gut flora already, but when the good flora become depleted in the gut, other microorganisms can flourish, and you can also get an infection. So for example, bad bacteria, yeast and parasitic worms can all start to develop within the gut. And normally the gut can fight most of these off, but some can't be fought off. And in fact, there's one in particular, a yeast called Candida albicans, Candida, which is shown to be associated with eczema, and studies have shown that most eczema sufferers have an overgrowth of Candida. So whether this is a cause or effect of the immune system dysfunction, I don't know, but there are steps that you can take, specifically through diet, which appear to be effective in reducing the incidence of Candida, and those dietary changes often reduce the symptoms of eczema in an individual. So it appears that the relationship between our gut and eczema is a close one, and I'm sure that many of you have noticed that changing your diet not only removes allergens but also seems to improve your digestion as well. Also, 90% of eczema patients have been shown in studies to have increased levels of Staphylococcus aureus bacteria on their skin. So whether this is a cause or effect is not yet known. Infected, damaged skin often does pick up infections, but that's something to look at as well, and kind of emphasises the need for eczema sufferers to obviously be hygienic, or more so than your average person, and keep the skin clean so that it's not prone to infection. Other aspects that can trigger eczema are things like, or increase inflammation in the body, which can often result in increased symptoms of eczema, include physical weaknesses. So digestive problems can impact the levels to which we suffer from eczema. So insufficient stomach acid, low digestive enzymes, and insufficient bile can all prevent the extent to which food is metabolized, and that can encourage the growth. If food isn't properly broken down, it can encourage the growth of unwanted microorganisms in the gut, such as Candida. The liver has obviously a key function in detoxifying the body, and it produces chemicals needed for digestion, and the kidneys serve as a natural filter of the blood. And when the liver and the kidneys are weak or overburdened, they can't do their job properly, which means that toxicity levels in the body increase and inflammation increases, and also, you know, the potential allergens within the body aren't eliminated as quickly, and so itching can increase. And many naturopaths see the skin as, in times of emergency, acting as a third kidney. So when the kidney can't filter the blood properly, the theory is that the skin is used to eliminate substances which can't be removed. I think that makes sense. I don't know if it's true or not, but it makes sense to a lot of eczema sufferers because of the close relation that seems to be present between eating and itching. Poor nutrition can lead to inflammation, simply because if you don't get all the macronutrients, the fats, the amino acids, the carbohydrates and the vitamins and minerals that you need, your body becomes weaker and your immune system becomes weaker. And you know, eczema often is related to the immune system, and so we eczema sufferers need to focus on making sure that we get the right nutrition to develop a strong immune system. Stress and infections can trigger eczema episodes. Things like lack of adequate sleep, infection, shock, injury, emotional upsets, losses, relationship worries, all sorts of things can influence the extent to which we suffer from eczema. Our environment, as already mentioned, there can be things in our environment which we're allergic to, such as dust, cleaning products, cosmetics, hygienic products, animals, and if we're allergic to them and we don't get enough sort of good quality air, then our eczema can increase. And I'll just mention a couple of things about naturopathy. Now, there were a couple of scientific studies which showed that, back in the 80s, which showed that children with eczema also had increased intestinal permeability, and I'll put an article on my website basically covering the content of this with references to all the research. I think most doctors don't think that leaky gut and eczema are associated, but what leaky gut or increased intestinal permeability is basically the junctions between cells in the gut which allow food particles into the bloodstream can sometimes become larger and allow proteins through which are bigger than should normally be allowed. The body doesn't recognise these as digestible food and instead recognises them as an allergen, and therefore will create an immune response and try to eliminate them. And the theory is that this results in the itching of eczema. And naturopaths also, this relates to what I said to the kidney, but many naturopaths also think that eczema is actually a result of the body's need to eliminate substances, so toxicity. Toxins meaning anything which the body can't use as food or doesn't require. And so things like poor lifestyle choices, excessive amounts of alcohol, processed food, excessive amounts of food, and so on, can, according to naturopaths, increase toxicity in our bodies, contribute to leaky gut, and impair the detoxification pathways. We might also have a heavy metal toxicity or chemical toxicity in the body, which increases inflammation and results in more itching. Finally, unfortunately, eczema can kind of trigger more eczema. If you have a little rash and the skin gets dry, it gets more itchy, and then the cycle of itching kind of perpetuates itself. So that's an overview of what I think causes eczema, and it gives us something to work with because we know that the gut and the immune system are involved. So it's often not just to do with the skin, and I hope that's been helpful to you. In the other videos and articles on my website, I'm going to talk about how the triggers can be mitigated in your environment and diet, for example, how lifestyle choices can improve our health and therefore reduce inflammation in the body, and a little bit about some ways which may be able to actually reduce your body's allergic reaction to substances that you're allergic to. Anyway, so I hope that's helpful, and perhaps see you in the next videos. Thanks for watching.